Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. So glad you could join today. Timothy, good morning. Great to have you along. Glad everybody's getting in here. Mario's with us. Fantabulous. Good morning, Mario. Aaron, hey, all right, Aaron. Very cool. Very cool. Um, I was just thinking one of these days I need to contact you. I want to hear about some fishing tales, right? It was this big. Of course, crab fishing, right? Great to have you guys along. Hey, so you know what today? We are actually going to cover two of the readings today. Now, yes, for great, Aaron, glad to see that. For those of you who are joining along and saying, hey, we're going to talk about Adam Smith on labor, right? Yes, we are going to talk about Adam Smith on labor, but actually, what I want to start with is Mike LeFevre. Okay. Now, the reason I want to start with Mike LeFevre is he is like this perfect example of what Karl Marx was talking about in our last lecture. Hey, Joseph and Jason, fantastic. Great to have you along. Karl Marx in our last lecture on Tuesday, right? He was saying, hey, you know what? There's alienation, from labor, right? Worker alienation, labor alienation. He really said there's four types of alienation, right? He said alienation from the product. You don't really feel yourself in the product. You don't see yourself reflected in the product. You don't really have a chance to affect the outcome of the product. You're just pushing buttons and pulling levers. We have alienation from the work. You can't really innovate. You can't problem solve. You can't really kind of find new efficiencies. You're just there to do what you're supposed to do, push the buttons, pull the knob. So alienation from work. Then there's alienation from others. Since you don't really have this sort of role in the community, I am the butcher, I am the baker, I am the farmer, I am the grocer, I am this, I am that. You're just one of 100,000 cogs that works in a community, in a factory. Then you kind of lose your place in relation to everybody else and the value you bring to that community. And then there's alienation from yourself. Since Karl Marx says that work is our species' essence, it's really what allows us to express ourselves and self-actualize, we kind of lose our mooring. Who are we? What are we? All I frickin' do all day, wake up, go to work, come back, eat, sleep. Wake up, go to work, come back, eat, sleep. 6 days a week, so on and so forth. It's kind of like, so let me see if I got this right. I spend the vast majority of my waking hours at work. Is that why I was put on this earth? Is that my purpose? To feed the beast that is the economy? I exist for the economy? That's alienation from yourself, okay? Well, you remember all that. So what we want to do is we want to see Mike LeFevre kind of introduce us to these ideas. To do that, of course, I want to get my marker because I love marking. So Mike LeFevre. Who's Mike LeFevre? Well, he was a steel worker in Chicago back in, I think it was the 1970s, I think this was. This was an interview done by Studs Terkel. He was kind of a famous author and radio guy and so forth. Hey, Ryan, great to see you along. He was a steel worker, and as he put it, I'm a dying breed, a laborer, strictly muscle work. Pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. All he had to sell was his labor, his muscles, right? He didn't have an education, although we're going to come back to that. He didn't have a skill set per se. It was just, I know how to lift things, right? Now, I say that in a, simpleton form, but Mike LeFevre is anything but a simpleton. This guy's like a sublime philosopher. It's incredible. Anyway, he's just saying, hey, I'm a dying breed. I'm just a laborer. A strictly muscle guy. I pick stuff up, I put it down. That's all I am. Okay? Well, that's fine. You can absolutely earn a living doing that. But he would not say that he is fulfilling his species' essence by doing this kind of work. Let's read this quote from him. You know, I got chewed out by a foreman once. He said, Mike, you're a good worker, but you have a bad attitude. My attitude is that I don't get excited about my job. I do my work, but I don't say whoop-de-doo. The day I get excited about my job is the day I go to a head shrinker. How are you going to get excited about pulling steel? I love this quote. I really love this quote. I one time, you know, back when I do a lot of consulting, I used to do a ton of consulting. And I was speaking with this gal. She was not a client, but it was in a networking meeting. She was like 85 years old and had started a catering business when she was 16. Okay, so she's 85 and she started a catering business when she was 16. So she's been doing this for, what, you do the math, close to 7 decades, right? And she was just moaning and groaning and complaining about high school employees these days, these kids that she hires. She goes, you know, she says, they don't get excited about the work. They're not committed to the work. They don't go the extra mile. They're just in it for the paycheck, and they'll leave as soon as they get anything better. And they don't commit themselves. They don't show the passion. I started the business when I was 16, and I showed passion, and I this, and I was committed, and I worked late. And I thought, you know what? I am, in fact, impressed with your business. I truly am. And that's really cool that you got this up off the ground and it's viable for 7 decades. But you know what? Kids aren't going to get excited about a catering job. You know, the day that I say whoop-de-doo about this job, it's not their business. They're not committed to it. They're not all in like you were. They don't have, you know, control over the business. They're just there for the check. And they have every right to be there for just the check. But in her mind, she just got so out of sorts that her employees were not showing the same passion as she did as the owner. And I'm like, it's not going to work like that. Well, I like this, Clifford. It's not their dream business. Clifford, Aaron, exactly, right? When it's, you know, I do this stuff and I really enjoy it and I get into it and so forth. And it's like every once in a while I'll have a family member or a student help me with a project and they help me, but it's not like I get excited because it's not their world. Okay, very good. So, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this where, you know, managers have come to you and say, you know what, your attitude really needs an adjustment. And you're like, dude, I'm doing the work. I hit my numbers. I do well. I show up on time. Just don't tell me I need to get excited about this. Ryan, must be why work makes me more happy. It's your business. Yes. Very good. Okay, let's keep going. All right. Let's talk about alienation from the product. Remember, this is where Karl Marx was saying you don't see yourself in the thing you're making, right? Timothy, you've absolutely felt this in the past. Me too, brother. Me too. Okay. Yeah, totally different when you own your own business. By the way, I get so caught up in what we're doing here. Very good. Okay, so alienation from the product. Again, reading from Mike LEFEVRE, you can't take pride anymore. You remember when a guy could build a house he built, how many logs he stacked. He built it and was proud of it. It's hard to take pride in a bridge you're never going to cross, in a door you're never going to open. Your mass production things and you never see the result of it. This is exactly what Karl Marx was talking about when it comes to alienation from the product. It's hard to see yourself, as you're just one cog in 100,000 building this building or this bridge or what have you. And furthermore, you're never going to cross the thing. It's just hard to see that for Mike. Now, on the other hand, and a lot of you feel this, so this is cool, right? Here's the positive side. So my PhD is in organizational psychology. And for my dissertation, I studied motivation. And this is a quote from one of my participants in my study. And this is the opposite side, where he really could see himself in the product. And so he was not alienated from the product. So those of you who own your own business and so forth, you're going to kind of see this a little bit. So this is what my participant said. Being able to point at something and say, I did that, or I worked on that, or your random person on the street can go out and touch this thing that I worked on. The closer that the product that I worked on is to something that somebody would recognize, the better I feel about it. I love it. The closer the product is to something that somebody would use. To be able to say, I'm one of a couple people that made this happen. That was a tremendous feeling of achievement, and it persisted. Okay? That is the opposite of alienation from the product. He feels a great deal of pride in that product. He was one of a handful of people who made that happen. He saw himself in it. And that's what we want, right? Okay, let's continue on. So then we have alienation from one's own labor, okay? This is when I don't even feel like I can, innovate or problem solve or think critically about the work. I just do it, right? So this is what Mike LEFEVRE says. Someone's going to build something. Pyramids, Empire State, these things don't just happen. There's work, hard work behind it. I'd like to see a building, say the Empire State Building. I would like to see on one side of it a foot-wide strip from top to bottom with the name of every bricklayer, the name of every electrician, with all the names. So when a guy walked by, he could point his son and say, see, that's me over on the 45th floor. I pulled the steel beam on that. Picasso can point to a painting. What can I point to? A writer can point to a book. Everybody should have something to point to. I really like that. Everybody should have something that they can say, see, I did this, right? And to be able to say, I expressed myself in this and how I solved it and so forth. I like that quote a lot. I like the whole reading. Okay. Now we have, remember, alienation from others. This is where you don't really feel like you have a place in society because of the sort of work you do. Mike LEFEVRE again. He's in a bar, by the way. He's in a bar. Now, Mike LEFEVRE, for those of you who did the reading, you know this. He's actually really, really smart. He reads a lot of philosophy. He reads a lot of classics. He's not what you would think stereotypically. He's in a bar. He saw a book in my back pocket one time and he was amazed. He walked up to me and said, "You read?" I said, "What do you mean I read?" He said, "All these dummies read sports pages around here. What are you doing with a book?" I got pissed off at the kid right away. I said, "What do you mean all these dummies? Don't knock a man who's paying somebody else's way through college." He was a 19-year-old effete snob. I loved that. Where this 19-year-old college kid, an effete snob, elitist, right? He's looking around at all these dummies. They just pull steel, right? And Mike is like, dude, These people are working really hard, putting people like you through college. Don't just say that because they're pulling steel, they're just dummies who read the sports pages. So that's where he felt kind of this alienation from others, that he didn't really have a place that he in society where he could say, this is who I am, this is how I contribute, this is how society and the community can, value me. Okay, yeah, Aaron's on a message. That's all right. D and then delete it. I get it. So this, I really like this because, so my career path, and I'm going to tell you a story here pretty soon about, my career path, but my career path has been all over the place, right? Yes, today I am a PhD professor with a college. And in the past, I was a middle manager with Intel Corporation working around the world. So everything about that says, ooh, right. I have a place in society. But I used to drive a truck. I used to be a truck driver for FedEx. I used to be a night security guard. I used to be just a guard you'd never see in a museum over in the corner. And during these times, yeah, I felt very alienated from others. All my friends had gone on to college and done great things, and college didn't work out for me at the beginning. And so I'm FedEx and I'm security and I'm, muscle, right? Which I don't have a lot of. So I really relate to this. Okay, and now we have alienation from oneself, where you don't really know where your place is anymore. Oh, hang on. I got to come back over here so I can make this mark properly. So Aaron says, LeFevre reminds me of a great movie, The Razor's Edge, Bill Murray's only serious philosophical movie. Yeah, okay. I have not seen that. I've seen a ton of Bill Murray movies. I feel that that should be required by law to see Bill Murray movies. But I've never seen The Razor's Edge, but I knew about it. It was a passion project of his that he did, I think, during the time of Ghostbusters, in fact, is they were trying to pull him in the Ghostbusters, and he was busy with doing The Razor's Edge, which was a passion project. And it didn't do very well, so he went back to his shtick, but it was something really important to him. So yeah, I totally want to see that. Yeah, Bill Murray, absolutely, right? I'm with you. Okay, so alienation from oneself. Now I love this one. Oh my gosh, I love all of these. Okay, when I was single, I could quit, just split. You don't like the job, just take off. I'm single. I have no responsibilities. I wander all over the country. You work just enough to get a poke, money in your pocket. Now I'm married with 2 kids. Trails off. I worked on a truck dock one time when I was single. The foreman came over and grabbed my shoulder, kind of gave me a shove. I punched him and knocked him off the dock. I said, leave me alone. I do my work. Just stay away from me. Just don't give me, any of with the hands-on business. I would rather work my ass off for 8 hours a day with nobody watching than for 5 minutes with a guy watching me. Here's the greatest quote on the face of the planet. Who you gonna sock? You can't sock General Motors. You can't sock anybody in Washington. You can't sock a system. Oh my gosh, I love that. You can't sock a system. So he feels powerless. He feels impotent. He feels that he has no autonomy and that he has no way of pushing back because he's at the behest of the system, and he has a wife and 2 kids. He has to just suck it up. I really like that. Now, the reason I like that is I want to tell you a story, and then I'm going to ask you to tell me a story as well. I love this. When I was single, I could just split. Now I'm married with 2 kids. So early in my career, I'm working for Federal Express. You know them as FedEx. That's their old logo. But back when I was there, it was Federal Express. And I worked nights on the docks so that I could pay my way through college. Out at the docks, meaning the airport, right? And one time, my boss now, I want to be really clear. Most of the time when I got in trouble, I deserved it. All right? I'm just going to say it. Most of the time when I got in trouble, I deserved it. This time I did not. This time there was a misunderstanding. It was a proper, legitimate misunderstanding. But my boss just blew up. He freaked out. And he wrote me up and put it in my permanent file. And that's your first warning. And I was pissed off. Pissed off. And so I was going to quit. I mean, that's what I always did. When I was single, I could just quit, split. Thing is, I wasn't single. I was married and I had a newborn baby. And for the first time in my life, I had to really swallow my pride really hard and just stay with it. And it was almost a defeating feeling that, you know, with this responsibility of having a wife and a child, and then I went off and made 4 more, not wives, children. I no longer had autonomy. I no longer had freedom. I was there because the system needed me and there was no way I could sock the system, right? So with that in mind, I'd like to hear stories from you, all right? We're going to go over to our puppy cam for 2 minutes, and I'd love to hear just short little write-up stories from you guys on where you kind of felt a Mike LeFevre moment, okay? I've felt many Mike LeFevre moments, but this one in particular was a full-on Mike LeFevre moment. Tell me about a Mike LeFevre moment that you have felt, and let's explore them. And so, puppy cam. Okay, let's come back and take a look at a couple of these. So first of all, yes, we've got 2 great, awesome comments. And by the way, both of these are real world examples. So they're going to get real world example points there. So Mario, I love what Mario says, right? I'm in that position right now. I'm in a job that I hate, gossip and drama, but I get a rent discount, and I have a boy and a wife and so forth. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. I mean, not nothing, but yeah, that's tough, right? And so you feel really powerless, like you have no control over the situation. Yes, this is exactly what we're talking about. Timothy, I've been at many jobs in the past where the supervisor gave me the "you're not living up to your potential" speech, and it's like, what do you expect? I'm in a call center. I love that, Timothy. That is bang on. It's like, first of all, like, I really give a rat's patootie what you think is my potential. That's not your judgment call to make. That's my judgment call to make. Furthermore, you expect me to reach my potential in this self-actualizing nirvana called a call center? Get real. I love it. I love it. Okay, Ryan. Ryan, and I'm coming back over here so I don't hit the wrong buttons because we have another real-world example. Many times on the oil rigs, people would mess with each other and pull pranks or cause fights. I always wanted to quit, but there's no way to get out since I made such damn good money. Yes. Okay. What Ryan's talking about here, guys, is, and I want to hear oil rig stories too one day. We used to call these the golden handcuffs. The golden handcuff is saying, yeah, I'm handcuffed to this job. Why? Because I make good money and it's great benefits and the hours are perfect or whatever, right? In other words, you are trapped, you are handcuffed, you are a prisoner, but they're golden handcuffs, so I learned to deal with it. Great example, okay? So, Aaron, let's see here. And I want to make sure I'm hitting the right buttons. Aaron said, working graveyard shift as ERRN, meth heads literally assaulting me and other nurses. I know these stories, man. Yes. Patient threatened to sue me for not giving him narcotics. Oh my gosh. Pulled a gun. But, kids. You got kids. Yeah. Jeremy, I had to fight in school to accept college credits and military transcript because the school refuses to assist and allow, Utah state law. Yeah, so who are you going to sock? You can't sock a system, right? Jeremy, also, I have had to take the issue to Utah Board of Education, socking the system. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And, you got to fight for it. Yeah, you're totally right. Okay, Ryan, when it comes to layoffs, I was first to volunteer. It was the best business decision. Hey, by the way, yeah, volunteering for a layoff is a business decision. I love it. I freaking love it. Hey, so let's check this out, guys. We have got... Yes, we got our first 10. Our first 10 was in awesome comments, and so we're going to do 8, 58, 10. You know the drill. 8, 58, 10. And let's see. Great, Timothy. I can always rely on you to pop that in there. But of course, we're not done yet. I have a feeling we're going to do more. Okay, guys, you nailed it. Very good. Very good. Like I say, I'm a big Mike LeFevre fan. I have a shrine to the man. And so my favorite quote from him, you can't sock a system. I have to go in front of a committee on Friday and make this argument in front of a Salt Lake Community College committee. And I hate committees because it's a system. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go on labor. Shorter one, but you'll see why it's come together. So what we did, as you know, we talked about all the aspects of capitalism over the last few weeks, right? And we had the summary of capitalism last week. And then on Tuesday, we said, okay, well, there are pros and cons to all the aspects of capitalism. And Karl Marx is one of the people who came out and criticized capitalism on the grounds of alienation and so forth. And then we looked at Mike LEFEVRE to show a real world example of alienation. And a lot of you chimed in saying, I have some real world examples too. Okay, well, let's come back to Adam Smith. Now, remember, Adam Smith is like the godfather. Yeah, I'm getting my thing is saying, hey, you're not coming through well. Hopefully I'm still coming through. I've got my bandwidth just went funky here. I don't know why, but hopefully you can still hear me and so forth. So Adam Smith, as you remember, he's like the godfather of capitalism. So he was a moral philosopher, an economist, not really an economist, but he's seen as the godfather of this economic system of capitalism. However, he had concerns as well. Karl Marx wasn't the only one with concerns about capitalism. Adam Smith did as well. So let's look at his concerns. Now, I titled this slide, Smith or Marx, It's Hard to Tell. This is Adam Smith cutting in and out. Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Hopefully it will come back soon. I do not know why my bandwidth has gone funky on me, but, you know, it happens. So I'm going to just kind of continue and hopefully it will come back along. If not, just kind of read along with me. This is Adam Smith speaking and lagging, loading a bit. Okay, we're just going to stick with it and hopefully things will work out. The man whose life, I can look over here. The man whose life is spent in performing a few simple operations. Okay, this is, specialization, the factory work, specialization of labor, division of labor, factory work, right? The man who spends his life performing a few simple operations, of which the effects too are perhaps always the same or very nearly the same. Okay. The system is holding me back and I can't sock a system. Okay. By the way, that's going to get a real world example. Has no occasion to exert his understanding or to exercise his innovation in finding out expedients for removing difficulties which never occur. Okay, so here's the thing. What he's saying is, listen, if you're just working in a factory, pull the lever, turn the knob, push the button, do it over and over and over, you have no chance to innovate. You have no chance to find new efficiencies. You have no chance to problem solve. You don't really get to see yourself in the work. You don't get to see yourself in the end product. This is everything that Karl Marx was talking about in Alienation. Okay, so let's keep going. He naturally loses, therefore, the habit of such exertion and generally becomes as stupid and ignorant as is possible for a human creature to become. Oh my heck! Did he just say that? Right? He loses the ability to innovate, to problem solve, to critically think, to find efficiencies, and so becomes as stupid and ignorant as a human being can become. The temper of his mind renders him not only incapable of relishing or bearing any part of a rational conversation, he can't even hold a rational conversation, but of conceiving any generous, noble, or tender sentiment, and consequently of forming any just concern in many, even of the ordinary duties of private life. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine a worse description of somebody, right? And this is what Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, is saying, guys, this is what's happening. we're following capitalism. And yeah, I helped kind of found it. You're welcome. But this is bad. So he was really concerned about it. Furthermore, he said the worker really has very little power. The masters will always prevail. The workmen desire to get as much and the masters to give as little as possible. The former are disposed to combine in order to rise, and the latter in order to lower the wages of labor. Okay, now in other words, here's what he's saying. Listen. An employee, I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the employee in aggregate here. An employee's goal is to do as little work as possible for as much pay as possible, while the employer's goal is to give as little pay as possible and get as much work as possible. So as you can see, these two forces are diametrically opposed, right? So that's the issue. However, it is not difficult to foresee which of the two parties much upon ordinary occasions have the advantage in the dispute and force the others into compliance. In other words, if the employees are going to try to get as much money for as little work as possible, and the employees are going to try to get as much labor as possible for as little money as possible, it's not hard to see who's going to win that fight. It's going to be the employers. Okay? So I want to take a pause for a moment. I see some folks are dropping off, so my concern is that this is still not quite broadcasting. So do me a favor. If you're still with me, and if this is still coming through, say, yeah, still here, still coming through, because I want to make sure that you guys get all of this. So do me a favor, chime in. Are you still getting this? Are you still getting this? Are you still getting this? If you are, let me know, because I noticed a couple people dropped off but then have come back on. You're probably just trying to get the system to restart. I get it. So let's see. Yeah, we're getting it. Timothy, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so here's the thing. Adam Smith says the Hayden, fantastic. The masters, the employers, they're always going to win. Why are they always going to win? Well, first of all, they can organize more easily, okay? Now, I want to be clear. This was back in the day, right? And back in the day, it wasn't illegal for owners to get together and plan, right? Furthermore, I want you to notice something. First of all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. 8 or 9 people here, right? It's a lot easier for 8 or 9 people to get together when they all have the same goal than it is for 80 or 90,000 people to get together when they have different goals. Furthermore, check it out, man. All old white dudes. It's a lot easier for 9 all old white dudes to get together and agree on a course of action and a strategy than it is for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of workers from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different creeds, different everything to get together and agree on something, right? Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why the masters are going to prevail. Second one, the law besides authorizes or at least does not prohibit the employers from combination, while it prohibits those of workmen. Back in the day, it was illegal for workers to form unions. It was illegal for workers to get together and bargain and plan collectively. So remember when we're talking about laissez-faire, and at one point, we talked about all the ways that corporations wanted laissez-faire but then didn't want laissez-faire, and Timothy said so much for laissez-faire, right? Here's a great example. Employers want to be able to get together and plan for the future. Don't regulate us, leave us alone. But employers were also really interested in making sure that workers didn't unite and form unions. So they would go to the government and say, you need to regulate those people. Yeah, we really like laissez-faire when it applies to us, but we don't want laissez-faire when it comes to somebody else. Then we want regulation. Okay? Continuing on, and this one's a big one. In all disputes, the masters can hold out much longer. Okay? You've got a longer runway. You've got deeper pockets, a bigger bank account. A landlord, a farmer, a master of manufacturer, a merchant, though they did not employ a single workman, could generally live a year or two on the stocks which they have already acquired. Okay? On the other hand, many workmen could not subsist a week. Few could subsist a month, and scarce any a year without employment. In the long run, the workman may be necessary to master as the master to him, but the necessity is not so immediate. Okay? Yeah, I'm referencing past lectures. Hey, that's right. I'm referencing past lectures. Oh, no, I can't give myself the point. Okay, we're really close, though, guys, on getting another 10. So here's the deal. Yes, employers need employees and employees need employers, but employers can hold out longer if there's a dispute. And so ultimately, the little guy is going to lose out. And this is according to Adam Smith. Now, this is where we're going to get some more examples. So here's the thing. I submit to you that Adam Smith and Karl Marx agree on the problem. However, they do not disagree at all on the solution. Okay? Both express alienation and the power of those in power in very similar terms, but how do their solutions differ? Right? Okay, all right, Hayden. All right, Hayden. For you. All right. So here's the thing. And this is going to get us some points here. What I want you to do is I want you to tell me how you think the solutions to these problems differ from Smith and Marx. Both of them agree that the problems are there and that they are real. They disagree on how to solve them. Where is their disagreement? So let's take a couple minutes on the puppy cam and let's see what we come up with. Okay, let's come back. Let's take a look at this. So, I'll give you an example, right? So, all right, Adam Smith and Karl Marx both agree that, hey, there are real problems with capitalism. Well, one example of where I think they disagree on a solution is Adam Smith would say, invisible hand, man, just let it go, right? If everybody acts in their own self-interest, then it will benefit everybody and everything will work out fine. You need to have a laissez-faire system and just let the system go, untouched, right? The more you leave it untouched and just let the invisible hand do its thing, the more you're going to be just fine. Karl Marx was like, yeah, no. All right, we already know that that doesn't work. Here it is. Capitalism is barely out of the box and it's not working. He says, listen, what you need to do is all these wealth building engines like capital and factories and land and so forth, we cannot trust industry to use those wealth building engines to the benefit of everybody. They're just going to use it to get rich on their own. We need the state to take ownership of industry, and the state is owned by the people, and that way we can allocate all the profits and the resources and so forth equally to everybody. Now, in the past, somebody brought up Winco. We're actually going to talk about Winco in a future lecture, but Winco is an example of a company that is employee owned. All the employees own it, and because all the employees own it, everybody benefits from it and everybody is invested in it. Marx is saying we need to seize the means of production and make that available to the people. Okay? So as we see here, Aaron says, Karl Marx, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this up to, hold on, what am I doing? I'm taking this up to the contributors because I know we've had 10. So Aaron says, Marx would say intervene. Marx would totally intervene. This laissez-faire invisible hand crap, he doesn't buy it, right? Ryan said Smith wanted to leave it be individualized, and Marx Marx saw competition as bad. Yeah, because then it's the little guy who gets the shaft, right? Absolutely. Timothy, in order for the state to take ownership, the population would need to trust the state and that it would act in its own best interest. Yeah, and we saw that in a previous quote, right? Where if you're going to say, hey, you can't, trust people in a laissez-faire system because people are flawed. Well, then by the same logic, you can't trust the government because the government is from the people and people are flawed. So yeah, exactly. A little, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's really hard to figure out who's working in whose self-interest, right? Very good. So here's my last quote. Carl Sagan. One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. The reason yes, Mason, yes, exactly. The reason I like this quote is, guys, and I want to say it again, I'm a fan of capitalism. It has worked well for me, and it's worked well for many. However, one of the big reasons it's worked well for me is because I am a white male born into an educated family in a well-off state. Back then it was California, right? I have a lot of privilege. I have a lot of things that capitalism is designed to help me. It's not designed to help everybody. And that is where it starts to fall down. Now, capitalism needs help. It needs attention. But a lot of folks kind of see capitalism as almost sacrosanct, like it's a religion, like it is, endowed to us from on high, and that we shouldn't mess with it, just leave it alone. And it's like, no, I feel that that's a bamboozle. We've been bamboozled, and we really don't want to look at things like Karl Marx and his ideas, because remember, they're bad. They're bad. Oh, they're bad. You've been bamboozled. They're not bad. They need to be included in the conversation. Okay? All right. So, everyone, that is it. Congratulations. Another week down. So, if you're just here for the lecture, for the material on these two readings, we're all set. If you're interested, I am going to pull up next week's module, look at the readings for next week's module, and I'll kind of give you a heads up on where I think you ought to place your attention. So let's come back over here. We're going to discard that, get rid of that. And one of these days, I'm going to learn my lesson, and I will have this already up to go. And hey, let's come back down over here. Get me out of the way just a little bit. All right. Signing in. And since this is my home computer, it says, you haven't been here a while. Yes, I know. I know I haven't been at home for a while. You don't have to rub it in. Okay, so here's our class right here. Let's check it out. Let's come over to our modules. All right, right there, Lon. Get with it. And it's taking its dear sweet time. I've had issues today, connectivity-wise, haven't I? Okay, let's come down to we just did Module 8. So now we are on Module 9, okay? All right, here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to blow this up just a little bit so it's easier for you to see. All right. Absolutely read this chapter on Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. Yeah, you get to read some pornography. You're welcome. Lady Chatterley's Lover is actually a really, really old book, 1800, something like that. And it was actually on a lot of banned book lists because, well, Lady Chatterley was married and she had a lover. Oh my gosh, that's pornography, right? So, yes, you have a reading assignment from a piece of pornography. This chapter is so good, all right? It's really good because what it's going to do is this chapter is a little dialogue between Lady Chatterley, I forget her name, and Clifford, not you, Aaron, but Clifford, who is her husband. And Clifford owns a mine, in the words of Gimli, okay? So Clifford owns a mine, and of course he has lots of employees. And Lady Chatterley is like freaking out at the way that he treats his employees, right? And he's like very high and mighty about his role with his employees. You really want to read this one. This one's cool, right? Yeah, I wish I owned a mine, really, right? Okay, then we have an employee's view of labor, okay? Yeah, go ahead and, okay, this one is in its full. It's not long. I'll pull it up so you can just see. This is Lady Chatterley's Lover. As you can see, it's just mostly some quick dialogue, and that's it. That one is not long at all. I am going to ask you to read, but then don't worry, I'll take care of you on the rest. The employer's view of the labor question, okay? This is by Andrew Carnegie. This is really interesting because this is where the employer, Andrew Carnegie, is saying, hey, I have some solutions for this labor problem that Smith and Marx were talking about. Smith and Marx are going on about this labor problem. Smith says, leave it alone, capitalism, invisible hand. And Marx says, take control. Carnegie, who's like a patron saint of American industry, Carnegie says, we can do a little of both. Settle down. So I would really like you to read this. It's a little bit long. Definitely read Employee Ownership, arbitration, unions, non-holder managers. And, okay, it's not that long. Read the whole thing. It's not that long. The conclusion goes on and on. It's not that long. So please read those two readings. Don't worry, they're good in their entirety. Lady Chatterley's Lever and Employer's View of the Labor Question. Now, Man versus Machine, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. It's Gandhi. Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi. We finally get somebody who's not white. Now, mind you, they're all old men, but at least we have one who's not white. I actually would like to bring more diversity into this course, but we have Gandhi. Don't worry about reading this one. I'll take care of you on this one. Totally watch Humans Need Not Apply. This is a video. It is a great video, and it's 15 minutes long. It will blow your mind when it comes to things like automation and so forth. So we will be talking about that in detail right along with Gandhi, okay? So you're going to watch a 15-minute video. You're going to read Lady Chatterley's Lever. It's a very short chapter. And you're, hang on, and you're going to read, oh, for heaven's sake. And you're going to read An Employer's View of the Labor Question. You're going to skip Man versus Machine. I'll take care of you on that one. Okay? So that is our plan for next week. All right? The readings are getting cool. Trust me. Well, they've already been cool, but I get pretty excited about them at this stage. Although I don't know that I've shown boredom ever in this, right? So you're all set, folks. You should be good. Have a fantabulous weekend. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Thank you very much for being patient with the system issues. I'll try to find a way to sock it, but, you know, kind of hard to do. And as always, I'll stay online for a moment or two to see if there are any questions, anything I can help clarify. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll see you on Tuesday.